Trying to boost my subscribers, I'm trying to maintain the vision. People that know me closest live different than what they show me. It's hard to feel like they know me when I'm just scrolling through images. Truth be told, I feel pain, but I'm on the pinnacle. Been chasing this music thing for a minute though. Know some good people that never see success. And here I am sitting worried about show appearances.
Hello everyone, I'm Angeline and she's Resa, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 121 of With the Quickness.
Hello everyone, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. Today we're going to share our takeaways from the November 20th, 2022 sermons given at First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey, and a past sermon given on August 10th, 2022 at the Progressive National Baptist Convention Ministers Conference. So Resa, what was your takeaways today from First Baptist?
To stop apologizing for the body you were given.
Okay. My big takeaway was it takes a heavy amount of vulnerability and strength to forgive. It also takes self-awareness to acknowledge that someone has negatively impacted you. What was your big takeaway from the Ministers Conference hosted by the Progressive National Baptist Convention?
To be real in your outreach.
Okay. My big takeaway was don't worry about finishing the race. Just remember, Jesus is the anchor. You just need to run strong in the Lord's relay because you know your assignment. We're going to get more into those sermons a little later in the show. But right now, we're going to go on to Resa's playlist. Resa, what's the song of the week this week?
Are we ready? It's time.
We narrowed it down to one song. This is Song of the Week, currently featured on With the Quickness Spotify playlist.
Okay, so this week I had to go overseas. So I went to the UK and I found an artist by the name of, I believe, if I say this wrong, I apologize to the artist, Konola, but it's Konola, and the song is called Jehovah Jireh, and it's from their Purple Purpose album that just came out on November the 8th, and the song is pretty much him giving praise to God and all the great things that he has done because he has God on his side and all the things he has overcome because of, God. I also wanted to give a brief backstory on Konola. So, of course, Konola is, he's from the UK. He is a UK Christian rapper. He's 22 years old. He was born and raised in Tottenham, London. And he has been very influential in pioneering the UK's burgeoning gospel drill scene. He even pushes back against the rapper label because he actually prefers to himself as a evangelist and not a rapper. He had his debut mixtape, Glory to God. It was released in August 2019 via SoundCloud. And then he also followed that by his second mixtape called Christian Walk, which was released in June of 2020. And he was also listed in the freshman class for the, he was the first British artist to receive the honor of being in the freshman class in the last 5 years. And he has released music with Press Play Media. He has recorded a freestyle with Joey Clipstars, Hardest Bars, and he has been invited to collaborate with P110 for a future Hood's Hottest freestyle and single release. He is definitely someone that we should all be on the lookout for because he's really, really good.
Now you said something about drill music. He's on the UK drill music scene, or his music's trying to combat that different music.
Well, no, he is so there's a scene in the UK called Christian drill. I'm still doing some research on that, but he is very influential in that scene. So,
well, the drill music actually started in Chicago here in the United States, and it was the music it's a subgenre of hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard about it this week when I heard Jill Scott talking on a past podcast about drill music. And it kind of shocked her because it's actually very ominous. It's actually talking about so-and-so died and you're going to die and we're going to die. And it's a lot of, those kind of lyrics talking back and forth in the gang lingo of Chicago. And then it went over to the UK and it's gone over to New York City. But drill music, it really has its roots here in the United States. they did something totally different with it over in the UK. It's good to know that it's branched off into being in the Christian genre now, and they're doing something different with it. But it did, and so it's not. It does have dark lyrics most of the time, regular drill music. To the point where you're wondering, should you be worried about your child if you come across it, they're listening to this here in the United States. But to know that the rap style got changed and it's getting infused into Christian rapping, that's kind of nice. It's kind of cool that it took something that is most likely seen as being something more dark, and the undercurrents of hip hop and becoming something positive for the Lord. So I really appreciate that it actually can heal people in a way, instead of just talking about the gang life and the problems and the darkness that we have in Chicago. We're having the rappers embrace it and turn it into something different. So I do like that aspect of it. So what kind of moved you to pick Jehovah Jireh this week? Was it the lyrics themselves, the tempo? Did the song catch you because of the feel of it? What exactly kind of drew you to it?
So for me, when I came across this song, it was actually the tempo, because it kind of reminded me of being on a cruise ship, because it has like this island feel to it, but it also has like this feel good vibe. And then when you listen to the lyrics and you hear how he's talking about, again, God and all of the great things that, he's done for him. I really liked it. And I was like, because, I do like all different types of music. So I thought this would be something that, that should definitely be added to our playlist.
I like the album cover where he's like in the circle and there's a teddy bear that's kind of like chilling with him. I kind of like that. It's kind of like I'm hard, but yet I got a soft side. God knows my heart kind of way I kind of took it. But I listened to it too, and it does have a nice island feel to it. It makes you feel like you're in Barbados to me or something like that. I liked it. I liked it a lot. So it'll be interesting to see how it's received, and I'm glad it's on your playlist. You went from country to where else did you go last week?
So I did country at one point. Before that, I did Latin.
Latin.
Yeah, Latin. I did rap. So, who knows where I'll be, next week.
Yeah, but all of it has a great flavor for the Lord. I mean, we've heard Jehovah Jireh used in so many Christian songs throughout the years. But to have someone do their own spin on it in a way that the young people could say, hey, yeah, I could play that. That was really nice. I played it more than once when I heard it. I was like, it's kind of catchy.
Right.
The way it makes you want to dance.
It does.
I'd be interested to see what kind of video he does to the song. But I really enjoyed it, and I'm glad you added it to the playlist. What else is going on in the music scene this week, Resa?
So I have big news. So the nominations for the 2023 Grammys came out, and your girl had to come through to give you the gospel nominations. So for Best Gospel Performance or Song, Erica Campbell was nominated for her song Positive. When I Pray by Doe was nominated. Maverick City Music and Kurt Franklin for Kingdom. PJ Morton featuring, I believe is Sakari Cortez, Gene Moore, Samat Tim Rogers, and Daryl Walls for their song The Better Benediction, and Ty Trippett for his song Get Up. For the nominees for Best Contemporary Christian Music Performance or Song, Crowder featuring Dante Bowie and Maverick City Music for God Really Loves Us, the radio version. Doe for her song So Good. Let me see. King and Country and Hillary Scott for their song For God Is With Us. Maverick City Music and Kurt Franklin for their song Fear Is Not My Future. Chris Tomlin for his song Holy Forever, and Phil Wickham for his song Hymn of Heaven. And then I have two more categories. For Best Gospel Album, we have Miranda Curtis for her album Die to Live. We have Breakthrough the Exodus Live by Ricky Dillard, Clarity by Doe, One Deluxe by Maverick City Music and Kurt Franklin, and we have All Things by Ty Trippett. And for the Best Contemporary Christian Music Album, we have Lion by Elevation Worship. We have Breathe by Maverick City Music. We have Live After Death by Toby Mac. We have Always by Chris Tomlin, and we have My Jesus by Ann Wilson. And I have, for the very last gospel related category, we have Best Roots Gospel Album. So we have Let's Just Praise the Lord by, I believe it's Gaither Vocal Band. We have Confessio, Irish American Roots by Keith and Kristen Getty. We have The Willie Nelson Family by Willie Nelson. We have 222 by Karen Peck and New River. And last but not least, we have The Urban, I believe it's Hymnal by the Tennessee.
Hymnal?
Yeah, Hymnal. So it's the Urban Hymnal by Tennessee State University Marching Band. So first,
a marching band got nominated. Wow.
Yes. So
oh my gosh.
With all that being said, congrats to all the nominees, regardless if you win or not. You're winners to me because you got nominated. So I'm very excited. So of course, because of COVID, the Grammys got pushed back. Honestly, a lot of the award shows got pushed back. So normally the Grammys would air around like January, February. This is going to air in 2023. So it might be like somewhere around there. I'm not quite sure, but I know it's 2023. I am very excited about the nominations. I hope to see Maverick City win some awards. And I also hope to see Doe, because I really love her and she's like a great artist still. I want her to win as well. But like I said, regardless if they don't win or not, the fact that they got nominated is a really big deal. So I'm super excited.
Oh wow, me too. I mean, once they tell us when they're going to actually broadcast the awards, we definitely will be listening and watching. But I'm just glad the people you said, most of them in the beginning were on your playlist. It's like, oh, I know that song. Oh, I know that song. So that was kind of cool.
Right.
I like that.
So I was happy about that.
So when it does come on, you're going to report back who the winners were, right? So
of course.
And let us know when it's going to be airing. We'll maybe watch it with you,
Yeah, of course. And I also want to give a special shout out to Beyoncé for her 9. She actually was nominated 9 times, which makes her the most, I believe she is the most nominated woman in Grammy history. So she actually supersedes her husband at this point. And I also want to shout out to Lizzo for her nominations as well. So I'm like super excited to watch.
She's the most nominated woman or the most nominated person? I think Michael Jackson was nominated.
Well, I think she's like the most nominated artist because they put it on. It was all over social media.
Artists of all time, like Michael, Madonna, all of them. She's outnumbered them. You might have to look that one up. I think she must be but if she is, because I could have swore someone had 10 one year, 10 nominations. But I could be wrong. So who did she tie with this year? No, someone else has 9 too, I heard. I heard another artist and her, but they both have 9 nominations.
So apparently Beyonce, Kendrick Lamar, and Adele topped the Grammy nominations.
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm sorry. What it was is Beyonce and Jay-Z are tied for the most Grammy nominations. That's what it was. That was the headline this past week. So congrats to
they tied with each other.
Yeah, for having like the most like Grammy nominations.
Okay. But as far as who's nominated this year, it's Adele, Kendrick Lamar, and Beyonce.
Yeah.
I think.
So it's Kendrick Lamar, Adele, and Beyonce. They're the top nominees this year. And then
this year.
Yeah. And then fun fact, according to CNN, Beyonce is the most awarded female artist in Grammy history. So
most awarded. Ooh. She's won more awards than other females.
Yeah.
Oh, well, the Lamely has to get on board and get that changed,
Well,
we have to
listen, there's a
y'all better start making some people that's on the Grammy board become lambs. Tell them the importance of becoming a lamb so they can vote when Mariah gets up for stuff.
Listen, that's going to open a whole.
Because apparently all of them are Beehive members. I'm thinking all those board members might be Beehive members. I think they really love Beyonce.
I have love for Beyonce. the whole, like, to bring up Mariah Carey's Grammy debacle, that's a whole thing, because she was robbed a couple times, okay? But we're not going to go there today, because we'll be here for 40 days and 40 nights, so we can't do that today.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. But this was great news about the Christian artists that are nominated for Grammys. That's really good news. I really appreciate you sharing that with us, and thank you for bringing it to With the Quickness.
You're welcome.
All right, so let's go on to the book of our show. Let's go over to First Baptist Church of Lincoln Gardens in Somerset, New Jersey. The Sunday service began with the praise and worship singers and the sanctuary. Like always, what would happen if one day I was reporting that the praise and worship singers were like, no one wanted to play today? I wouldn't even know how to say that part. You know, to me, it's like you can't have sanctuary Sunday service without the stellar job they do every single Sunday. And they were on point. This Sunday was Youth Sunday. Or I guess we're going to call it Fire Sunday now, because the youth are now called Fire, the Fire Ministry, and the young adults of Fire actually led the service. We had baby blessings, 4 little precious babies. I remember when you got blessed, Resa. It's a wonderful feeling when parents get all dressed up and get ready to go, and the kids never cooperate, but some of them do. Some of them get sleepy and fall asleep. You were one of those babies that fell asleep. You were like, okay, I'm over this. I'm dressed in white. I fell asleep. And then all they do is carry you up there, bless you, and sit you back down, because you were kind of over it. You know, you were really, really a small baby. But these babies were ready to go. Benjamin, Annalise, Eric, and Jackson were the ones that were blessed today. And I loved how Pastor Quick instructed the parents to raise their child in the way of the Lord, in the way they should go. He said he grew up in simpler times with the Jetsons and Fred Flintstone. And today the kids get inundated with so much from the internet and from TV and just in their schools. I mean, you guys get hit with a lot. I didn't have a little computer in my pocket when I went to school, but these kids will.
Yeah, I will say the minute that, we started, the minute the internet became a thing, that's when like things have changed. So to be a parent today, I have friends that are parents, and they have to do a lot of monitoring, because like you said, like kids can see a lot of things like way too early, so they're always like watching shows with them, or they'll watch things ahead of time to make sure it's age appropriate. And even on certain channels that are geared towards children, they still have to watch it to make sure everything is like copacetic. And I'm like, it's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in addition to the baby blessing, we also had 6 more disciples accepting Christ. So that was really good. And we must shout out right now, Deacon Noreen King. She's the deacon that's assigned to With the Quickness for First Baptist. We have our own deacon that checks on us, because Pastor Quick can't check on everybody. He has people that do that. And so she'll be checking in on us and making sure we're good. And I like that. So Deacon King, we love you. We appreciate you. And thank you so much for watching out for the With the Quickness family. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. This Sunday, since it was Youth Sunday, they had Christian hip hop artist Redeem. He performed 2 songs, Shipwreck and Never Fails, in the sanctuary. And some people were taking like, feeling the mood and like, this was great. And other people were kind of like, oh, this is something. This is a lot. Because it's a little different. And I get it. Some people don't listen to Drake in their car and listen to hip hop artists, so it was a little bit of a shift for some of the people in the sanctuary, but they hung in there. No one got up and walked out. Nobody had their arms folded like they weren't with it. Everyone kind of, they gave it a chance. They listened. Some people were really getting their praise and worship on. Others were like observing. And I get it. Us online, we were sending our hand claps up, and, With the Quickness was putting up different emojis for the, the drums and the guitars, and everything was really, really nice. I enjoyed it. This young man, you can actually learn more about him and his music. You can see his videos on his YouTube channel that is titled Official Redeemed. Go to the Official Redeemed YouTube channel, and you can see the videos for Shipwreck and Never Fail. You can also go to the website bagmgt.com/redeemed, and you can learn more about Redeem and his music and his walk as a Christian hip hop artist. He's done a lot of wonderful things. You can also listen to his bio if you go to the YouTube channel for First Baptist and listen to this sermon we're going to tell you about. Pastor Quick also stated that as a church, we only have two conditions. We could either be growing or we could be dying, because we're never going to stay the same. And so he really wants what we feel on Youth Sunday to be more integrated into our regular services. So no more of that relegating Youth Sunday to just a certain Sunday on the calendar. We're going to see the youth and fire ministry taking part in more things, from here on out. And that's a good touch, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think so, Resa?
Yeah, I think it's very important to include, the youngest to the oldest. So it's not like, oh, I come on, because he did say, listen, like, the youth, they don't just pray on certain Sundays, like they're always praying. So we need to include them, regularly into like what we do on a, weekly basis, which makes sense.
He's absolutely right. It almost feels like when you have family dinners, right? Mm-hmm. And the older people always want us to eat certain stuff. It's like, oh, let's have a pot roast. The kids are going, oh, pot roast again. Can't we have just burgers? Can we have burgers every now and then? Give me some burgers, give me some fries, stuff like that. And you have to say get some pizza. So you have to say to yourself, okay, we can't make it every now and then we give in to the kids. How about at every meal, we have what everybody likes? We'll have some pot roast, but instead of having mashed potatoes, we're going to put some French fries on the side of the pot roast this time. Why? Because the kids like the French fries, Right. Or we're going to have corn on the cob instead of having the Brussels sprouts that grandma likes. You know what I'm saying? We're going to change it up, put something in the menu that everybody's going to like. So that way everybody feels like they had a good time, because it's all about fellowship, right? And if you want people to come and fellowship, they got to feel comfortable. I'm not saying it's the church's responsibility to placate to the members. That is not what a church is about. Church is about we're disciples of Christ. We can fellowship with each other. When we see each other, when we're there worshiping our Lord and our God, that's when we fellowship. But it's not about placating to the needs of like, I want you to jump this way. And if you don't jump that way, I'm not going to sit in your pews. We're not doing it. This is not Nielsen ratings for churches. We're not doing that, right? What I am saying is we need to make sure everyone feels comfortable enough to be there and express themselves. So if playing a song that connects one young man that loves playing his Drake in his car, and he's thinking about giving his life over to Christ, but he's like, I don't know, this is kind of, feels like my grandmother's church more than my church. And you play a song by Redeemed in the Sanctuary, and he can connect to those lyrics, and he's like, yeah, that's my flavor. Oh, wow. I guess Jesus can be my flavor. Jesus can be what I need him to be for me. He's not just my grandmother's God. He's my God. And have him make that connection because of something that happened during Sunday service, then it's a win-win for all of us. Because we need many disciples for Christ, right?
Of course.
So I get what Pastor Quick is saying. He's like, look, can't relegate, how they say in that one movie, put baby in the corner. Can't put baby in the corner. Yeah. She got to come on out and sit with the rest of us, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to get to know you.
Yeah, I agree. And plus, it's like, it goes back to like, you have to speak their language. Like, it can't just be, like you said, it can't just be like, oh, because I'll be honest, before I started my walk back to church, I was just like, oh, I got to wait until I'm like, perfect or whatever. And then come to find out, like, everyone's like, you don't have to be perfect. You can just come as you are, and like, we'll work with you. But like,
because none of us are perfect in those seats, we're not.
Right. But then it's like, when you have a ministry such as like, First Baptist Lincoln Gardens, that's like, listen, we are willing to not only, sing our usual songs, but we will also integrate newer songs that can reach the youth. That's like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I can understand that. Like that, that speaks to me. I get it.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted though, because you're still going to hear the older songs too.
Of course.
And we will keep saying Jesus, Jesus, Jesus every Sunday.
That's
because you know why? The little babies love that song all the way to the oldest adult. Everybody loves that song.
I do. I actually do love that song. When it comes on, I do get really excited.
It makes everybody smile when you hear it. It makes everybody smile.
I really like, I start to cheese from ear to ear, and I'm just like, that's my song. We're going to do it today.
I know. And especially when Pastor Quick, he be starting to preach along with it. He be like, he be telling us, he be doing the answering call with us.
Right.
Because who is he? We go, Jesus, Jesus.
Jesus, Jesus. And what does he do?
Is he our strength? Yeah. I love how he does that, because he makes it very clear it's an imprint of First Baptist.
Right.
It's something that's in our DNA. It's something that's not going to change. Might be a lot of changes going on within First Baptist, and he understands that there's a lot of changes going on for some people, and it can be quite jarring.
Right.
But there's also a lot of things that stay the same. The core of First Baptist is stronger than ever. So just like when you were one way in high school and one person, and here you are now, 31, the DNA of you is still Resa. You always will be Resa, you know. But you're growing, developing, etc. Like he said today, a church can only be growing or dying.
Right.
We're just growing. So people that don't understand or feeling some kind of way, I look at them as growing pains.
Right.
It's just growing pains. Everybody's feeling some kind of way. Oh, you know, you're getting a couple inches taller. Your shoes, your feet outgrowing your shoes a little bit. Just growing pains. Don't worry, we're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. It's better to grow than to shrink away, to die, to have atrophy in your muscles. That's what we don't want. So I like how he reminded us about that. Another thing that happened this Sunday is the partnerships that First Baptist is forming. St. Peter's Healthcare was highlighted for their partnership with our health and mental health initiatives. Jim Croma and Les Hirsch spoke about a grant that FBCLG was able to receive. And Minister Marshall also talked about that. I'm just so glad that we have the kind of church that is making sure that they're staying interwoven in the community. Because so many people feel like, oh, there's so many churches in a certain area. We can do a little bit of our part, but let's mostly concentrate on our own disciples, our own saints, and not worry about the outside community. And that's a disservice. I like the fact that First Baptist is like, we're not only put here to take care of ourselves, but we're here to also take care of others and the surrounding community and to be a beacon. And the communities need that. We need to know there's a place to go. When you think there's nowhere else to go, there's a place to go. And First Baptist might not be the home church that people recognize or want or as their home church that they grew up with. Like they moved to this area or they've been in this area and they see First Baptist, they pass it every time they drive down the street. But sometimes we do different things that'll make somebody stop in and go, oh, I heard they're having a toy drive. Oh, I heard they're getting backpacks ready for kids at school. Oh, I heard they're doing COVID vaccine shots over there, and I need to get my booster. It gets the community talking and saying, yeah, go over to First Baptist. They're doing something that's just up your alley. Oh, they're having a health screening. You can get your mammogram. Go over to First Baptist. I think they got someone over there can help you with that.
Right.
I like that. I like that a lot. It makes you feel like everything you're giving to your church in your time, your talents, and your resources is actually helping all of us get better. It's good fruit. I think that this church has good fruit.
I agree 1,000%.
Yeah. And he also said something that kind of struck a chord with me before he got into his talk. He said, everyone needs to find at least 1 hour each week for the building of God's kingdom, building of the ministry, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if we're a ministry in ourselves or if we need to be more connected to First Baptist and interwoven in that way. Like, part of me feels a little Terrence Whitfield coming out when he goes, I don't want to be boxed in. Remember we talked about that last week? I don't want to be boxed in, you know? Right. I would like to do what we like to do, but at the same, and maybe this is why we need to talk to our Deacon King about this. But also I feel like in order to go on any path and any journey, it's good to be guided or have a coach and have some kind of, some systems in place to help you do well on the journey. Right. I don't get on an airplane without knowing there's a pilot and some, flight attendants. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes there's people there. It's like we know where you're trying to go, and we can help you there because they've been there. Sometimes you got those kind of coaches, and then you have people like, we've never been where you're going, but we want to be here if you need anything, if you have any questions, because we know the journey might be hard. But you're an adventurer and you're going into a sphere we're not familiar with. When we see you doing this, and we support it, but if you need counsel, wisdom, some prayers, we're here. I don't know if we'll get what we'll get with, being connected to First Baptist and doing the walk we're doing. I'm already hearing a lot of positive things from the members of the church. I also feel their support and love. I hope you feel their support and love.
Yeah.
But I also, because he said that, I wonder, should we be more connected to the online ministry of First Baptist? Or should we stay our own entity and continue to press the word out there about the church and about other good churches and stay more independent? What do you think?
Well, I know, as someone that likes to watch a lot of movies and read a certain amount of books. So basically, in both of the stories, whether it was The Wizard of Oz, my personal favorite, or The Odyssey, both of the main characters, as they took their journey, they had to meet people, or better yet, they met people on their journey that actually helped them get to their destination. Some of those people didn't make it with them to the very end. Some of those people did. But I feel like it really depends on, what we are trying to do. So I don't see any harm with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I like the fact that we're on the radar for Pastor Quick and Deacon Noreen King and Minister Fields and Deborah Carter. They're all aware that we're here. We've never said or done anything, I think, that's disparaging to First Baptist. If we do, I hope they will let us know. And not as far as reining us in, but letting us know what their concerns would be if we ever did say anything that was,
Right.
too controversial for them. But I don't think the reach that we're international, and we really love the fact that so many people listen to Pastor Quick because of the podcast. Some of them, their first time hearing, like, oh, that sounds like something I might want to listen to, and they go listen. I like that. I like the fact that some of them do it because we suggested it. Someone going through podcast channels go, oh, what's this? And they listen and go, oh, I might check that out. I like that. I like having, even if it's just one person that week that listened to a message I didn't hear before. The other thing I do like is that the other churches, the other houses of worship that we feature, also get someone thinking about a place near them.
Right.
It's not just about everything that First Baptist is providing for us and for people. We could reach you. We're online ministry too. He has an online church, and we have people that join online every Sunday, which is very nice. But at the same time, I want them to know there's other churches that are doing the same thing. We're all, disciples of Christ where we're at. So if you're one of those people that's more comfortable having a church that's more local, that's why we present the other churches as well. And most of the time, Pastor Quick kind of knows a lot of these pastors, which is kind of cool. Like, we'll do somebody, he goes, oh, I know them. I know he's thinking that, oh, I know that person they're talking about. And then sometimes it might be someone totally brand new, and he goes, oh, wow, that's interesting. Didn't know that person has a church over there. Didn't know that person. That's like a really nice talk. I might listen to it. So I like that aspect of it too. That was the beginning of First Baptist's services. And Pastor Quick went right into his sermon pretty much after, St. Peter's gave us a nice check, and he told us to do more service and ministry, at least an hour a week. He went on to his sermon called I've Got Issues. Wasn't a rap song, wasn't a hip hop song, wasn't an R&B classic. He went right to I've Got Issues, Resa. What did you think when you heard that title?
Honestly, when he said that title, I did think of, because there's a Aaliyah song called was it We Need a Resolution, and there is a line in the song where she says, I've got issues and you got, she goes, I've got issues and you've got issues, but I miss you, whatever. But anyway, that's what I thought. That's what I thought initially.
Oh, okay. You thought of Aaliyah, that part of the song.
I did, yeah.
No, he wasn't going there. The scriptures of the day were Romans chapter 7, verses 14 through 25 of the New Revised Standard Version. Now, these scriptures, they don't describe a non-believer and a believer that's living according to the flesh. Instead, it's describing a victorious disciple. Paul is talking about issues. Pastor Quick stated that he has issues, and the Bible says, don't cast your pearls before swine. And he said, some of us in that, some of y'all like eating bacon and stuff. So I was like, we all kind of got a good laugh out of that. Then he told us, who is Paul? He started off by saying, who is Paul? Paul was an influential, knowledgeable citizen. But before he was Paul, he was Saul, and he was one of the biggest persecutors of the church. The Apostle Paul was one of the most influential leaders of the early Christian church, and he played a crucial role in spreading the gospel to the Gentiles or the non-Jews during the first century. And his missionary journeys took him all throughout the Roman Empire. Pastor Quick told us a little bit today about Sigmund Freud, and he talked about the 3 parts of the ego. The earliest part of the personality to emerge is the id. The id is present at birth and it runs on pure instinct, desire, and need. It's the primal purpose of the pleasure principle. He spoke about wanting some Popeye's chicken, or people that want to have a drink, or having a strong urge to see someone you love. All of those things are manifested by the id. The second part is the ego. This second part of the personality, the ego, it kind of rises from the id. Its job is to acknowledge and deal with reality, to ensure that the id's impulses are kind of reined in and expressed in a way that is socially acceptable. It's the conscience that tries to tame the id. A dysfunctional ego edges out God, according to Pastor Quick. And then the last part is the superego. The superego is like the moral compass of the personality. It upholds a sense of right and wrong. These values are innately learned from one's parents. However, the superego continues to grow over time. So you could learn and adopt a moral standard from other people you admire, like, church leaders or teachers or mentors. So Pastor Quick said, don't manage your relationships by your ego. And then he went on to tell us a little bit more about the 3 principles of forgiveness that were given from Dr. Eileen Stratus. Then he went on to tell us about 3 principles of forgiveness given from Dr. Eileen Stratus Cohen. The 3, they start with B, right? The word B. So be honest, be vulnerable, and be humble. Be honest. She says that because forgiveness includes acknowledging that you are hurt, accepting the pain as your own, and being honest with yourself about the effect it had on you. That's kind of hard, right, Resa? When someone kind of zings you and hurts you, to be able to have enough self-awareness to go, ooh, that hurt. I usually can't do it right then when it happens. I got to process sometimes. What about you?
I'm not going to lie, because I'm thinking back to when I was in college. And there was this one particular situation that I was in. And yeah, I will say my communication since then has been a whole lot better. But yeah, I say that all to say, yes, it can be hard to identify that, yeah, my feelings were hurt. But I feel like if you do have a certain level of self-awareness, and you're really just trying to get to, and you're really trying to like resolve the issue, and you actually care about the person, you will say, hey, this, whatever it was, this hurt my feelings or whatever.
Yeah. It takes a little minute for some of us. Sometimes you're right. Sometimes when you're younger, it's hard to form the words, especially if the hurt happens by someone that's a lot older, like it could be a parent or older sibling, something like that. They hurt your feelings in some kind of way. It's hard to articulate with someone that's an authority figure that their actions or their words have hurt you in some way. The second part he said is be vulnerable. Dr. Stratus Cohen says it takes a heavy amount of vulnerability and strength to forgive. It also takes self-awareness to acknowledge that someone has negatively impacted us. So Pastor Quick says we need to stop telling our young boys it's not okay to cry. They need to get that out. They need to be vulnerable. They need to cry. Do you feel that? I mean, when he said that to you, were you like, amen, like the rest of us were doing online, Resa?
Yeah. Like, I don't know where that came from, that like boys shouldn't cry, but like I personally feel that, listen, if something hurts you that bad that you need to release, like in the form of crying, then cry. I'd rather you cry than you not cry, and then you internalize it, and then it comes out as pure rage, because that is like, you can't control that. That's a different type of thing.
Part of me thinks some of that comes from our sports world. When they play contact sports and some sports and they get injured and the coaches say, walk it off, you're going to be fine, and, suck it up and stuff like that. I think it's part of that whole gladiator mentality. Like, you can do this, even though you're hurt, you're injured. Don't sit and cry. Don't wallow in the pain. Push through. which has caused a lot of damage, not only physically but psychologically to a lot of our young people. Just being the performing part of being an athlete. I think we might
Yeah.
got some of that don't cry from that aspect. Might not be the only place we tell young men not to cry, but that's one of the places I can point to that I've seen throughout the years has been pretty consistent of suck it up. You're not really hurt. Keep playing. You're going to be fine. Let's wrap this up. Let's get you back in there. Let's ice this for a minute. Let's get you back in there.
Right. Because I honestly, I have seen that in a sports arena where there was a player, it had to be a football game in high school, and somebody broke their leg and they're like, oh, you're fine, you're fine. And like the guy, obviously he's in pain. He doesn't want to cry in front of like the whole entire school. So he just covered his face with a towel just to be like, I need to cry because this hurts like really, really bad. So
Yeah. The last part of the principles of forgiveness is be humble. Be humble. Being humble is having the awareness that you are no better than anyone else, especially with matters of forgiveness. It's essential to remain humble. Humble people do not expect anything from others and give lovingly, including their forgiveness without any expectations attached. Being humble when you forgive, that's something that that's like master class level. Because sometimes you forgive somebody and we like to stick it in their face and say, well, I did forgive you. I did tell you I'm over it. Why are you bringing it back up? That's not being humble. That's like, forgiving is, no matter how many times it comes up, you still kind of say, okay, you're right, I forgive you.
Because I gotta ask the question. Okay?
Yeah.
So, because I want to challenge this logic. I understand what they're saying, that you have to be humble, right? When you forgive somebody. However, like you just said, if I have forgiven this individual and we decide, okay, we're going to be friends, whatever, and then they decide to bring it back up 2 months later, can't I say, whoa, we don't got to go backwards because I already forgave you. Why you got to bring it back up again? Like, don't do that. Like, I can't say that.
Well, you can say it. I guess you got to do it like she said, give lovingly. You got to lovingly remind them, that's been forgiven, that's squash. You can't be like, hold up, that's over. You can't be like real hard with it. You gotta be like when they're bringing it back up again, and it's like resurfacing like a bad pimple. You say, wait. I thought we discussed this. Me and you are good. That's over. We're good. You ain't gotta worry about that anymore.
Because I'm the person.
Real loving.
I like to like joke a lot, so I'll be sitting there like, I thought we was good. Like, we got problems. What's happening? Like, I just want to know because I'm trying to figure out. Like, I thought we were okay 2 months ago, but it's coming back up again like a pimple. So I'm like, is something like, are you still triggered? Like what happened? I just want to know.
Totally get you. It's okay to bring it back up. Pastor Quick went on to say, God made you. He said, stop apologizing for the body you were given. God loves all of us. He also said women should date outside their race. The church shouldn't judge others. And don't join a church if you want an easy life. What did you think about those things that he kind of threw out there?
I felt like they were all true. Like,
yeah,
I'm sorry.
Can't apologize for the body you were given. This is the body we got.
First and foremost, that is very true. Because I've spent like a lot of, not a lot, like a good portion of my life feeling like, oh my gosh, the body that I have is not, it doesn't look like my friends, or it doesn't look like the people I see on TV. And it's just like, listen, the body that you have, it works. It gets you from point A to point B. It may not be like the tall 5'9" supermodel, but the 5'4" average body model is just as good. So there's no need to like apologize for that. And then number two, I've also told all of my girlfriends that they need to start dating outside their race if they haven't already done it already, because I don't think it's fair that certain women are told to date within their race, but then men are told, date everyone, doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. No, it should be an equal playing field. Like if I would tell my son, hey, you should date all different races, I would also tell my daughter the same thing. You should date different races to figure out what you like. There's no harm in that.
I don't have a problem with dating outside the race. I don't have a problem with that. And you hear a butt coming. I know you hear a butt coming. And that's because
I
do. Only thing I do worry about, this is what I worry about as a mother, is someone understanding your culture and the walk you've had to take as a woman of color. I don't want somebody dating you like it's a fetish. It's something that's like, it's like cool or something catchy or something they want to try on, like he's trying on a new pair of shoes. I don't like that. Like you either have to be down with the cause and the culture and really get to know a person, not only love them, but then take the time to get to know them, get to know their family, get to know the history, the lineage, everything. It's one thing to fall in love, but
Right.
then you fall in love with a person, fall in love with the whole person and everything that
Right.
comes with the person. That means you're going to know more about their culture and how they do things, et cetera, so forth. Because if a new life comes between the two of you, that's going to have a little bit of both of your cultures, that child should not feel pulled. They should feel enveloped by the love of both cultures. They should not feel like, oh, I have to do this for mom or do that for dad, or feel like I'd rather be at dad's house than at mom's house with her family. It should feel like I love the melting pot that is my family.
Right. And I agree 1,000% because there used to be a show on MTV called True Life, and it was a documentary style type show. I love that show. And there's one episode where they were talking about interracial couples, and there was, I believe it was a white woman with a black man, and she had given birth to their child. I can't remember if it was a boy or a girl or not, but the grandparents were calling the kid like a mutt, and I was like confused because I'm like, that's not a term that you would say about a child. But I do agree that like when you do meet someone outside your race and you do genuinely fall in love with them, like you do have to learn not only about their culture, but you have to also learn what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. You do not call, like there's just certain things you just don't say and you don't do because it's just it's not appropriate.
You're absolutely right. And you might have to take on the mantle of being the spokesperson for that other person's family, of trying to explain a lot of things for your race, that we're not monolithic. We don't all do the same things in the same time, in the same way, just because you're part of, you're African American. And you got to explain that a lot to someone when you marry somebody or get with somebody of a different race, just like they have to explain to you things about their culture. And they're the spokesman for their culture. But you got to remind yourself, they're speaking about their family and the culture as they know it, not for everyone in the culture. So, yeah, I do get what he's saying, that God made us and, give ourselves freedom and grace to do what we need to do in this life. I do understand that. At the same time, the church, if you want to be part of a church, like he says, join a church if you want to, but you're not joining an easy life. It's not a sit back and let everybody take care of you kind of life when you join a church. It's more like, hey, what talents do you have? What can you bring to the table? How can you help bring more souls to Christ? How can you help the souls that are currently here? How can you help our community in any kind of way? So they do. It's like God's nonprofit. You sign up and say, I want to be part of God's disciples. I want to be part of the crew. He goes, oh, great. And he looks down, he takes his clipboard and go, okay, what you good at? Let me see. Oh, you got talents here. He's going to nudge you. Don't you want to do this? He's going to nudge you every Sunday. Oh, that ministry exists. He's going to let you know when ministries are popping up that are in your wheelhouse of talents. Right. So you won't get away from it because something happens with the Holy Ghost. It's like he's like Jiminy Cricket on your shoulder going, excuse me, pardon me, excuse me, pardon me. Every time there's something that pops up that he knows, God knows you are gifted in that area. Right. They'll nag at you till you end up helping out.
Right. I feel it all the time. That's something that happens all the time. Just recently, for example, they had announced the what was it? It was the toy drive, and I was like, yeah, it was a thought on my mind to do it, and then I just felt like God being like, yeah, you should definitely help out with that, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the last thing that Pastor Quick says, and I'm going to help out with that too. Last thing Pastor Quick says, that there's things that Paul wanted us to know. That boundaries that bless cause stress. So an undisciplined person cannot accomplish anything. Rules and boundaries are important. Just don't be hypocritical with the law. 2, confession cease the consciousness. Be truthful with yourself. What it is that you don't like about yourself that puts you up for sale for others. When he made that statement, he goes, what is it about yourself, about you, that you would sell? You would put yourself up to sale for others that aren't like emotionally there. I took it as like, wow, that was like a drop mic moment. And I know I'm not repeating his words correctly because I wrote them down so fast. But yeah, a lot of us hitch ourselves to a person or friends that aren't really worthy to be connected to. You're on a certain path on your walk that they're not at. And it doesn't mean being elitist in any kind of way or being, thinking too highly of yourself. It's just that sometimes people, they want to be with people that are doing certain things for the Lord, but they also are pulling, they want the light, but they're pulling and they're draining you too at the same time. So it's okay not to be everybody's savior, everybody's Jesus. It's not, you don't have to be Jesus. There's only one Jesus. You can let Jesus do his job and not try to save the world. Let him worry about saving that person's soul or giving them what they need. You don't have to be all things to everybody. You should love yourself enough and be truthful enough with yourself to say, my shoulders are not broad enough to carry a grown person. I can't do it. I can't carry you anymore. I carry you as much as I can carry you. And that's hard because sometimes you could be an adult child that has to take care of an older parent. When is it okay to say, I can't do this anymore? When is it okay as a husband taking care of a sick wife to say, I'm feeling overextended. I don't know if I can do this anymore. That's what the church is so good about. You can say those things and they can help you through it. That's what therapy is so good of. You can say those things and the person can help you through it. Sometimes we are overextended.
Right.
And it's nice to know that, God is saying you can have a disciplined life. You can have forgiveness in your heart. But part of forgiveness is not, also going to the point where you're overextending yourself and hurting yourself. Right. Sometimes you have to let go and let others take over. And that means giving up control. And a lot of us don't want to give up control. That's that ego. I want what I want and I want to, better. But sometimes the last thing that Pastor Quick said was forgiveness. When it fights me to be free. It's freeing to be how you really want to be. It's very freeing to be who you really, really are. And he spoke about a time, and you got to listen to him give it on the YouTube channel. You have to listen to the sermon where he says that he prays before his meals. And he's going to always pray before meals because God has gotten him through a lot of things. And he's not going to put God in a corner. He's not going to put him in his pocket. Every day he's going to put God forefront of his life. So even when someone is paying for his meal in Washington, D.C., and he could order anything he wanted because he wasn't paying for it, he could have a wonderful time. He's going to stop and say, well, y'all agreed to meet with a pastor, so we're going to pray right now. I'm praying bless this food. And it might shock people, but he stayed true to himself. He normally would pray over his food before he ate, right? Why should that change? Because of the company you're keeping. Now, that's a hard thing for a lot of people because recently, didn't we talk about it recently? People used to win awards and always mention God, and now they get awards and you don't hear God as much as you used to hear him. You hear people's mamas still, but you don't hear as much as praising for God for the awards. Did you notice that?
Yeah, because it's like people are afraid to not say their mama because they know it's going to be a situation, but I feel like they should also be afraid to not mention God, especially when they win certain awards, because you wouldn't have gotten that award if it wasn't for him giving you that gift. So
some people are so good at speaking about what they do and how God is in their life when it's a spiritual moment. It's a spiritual broadcast. It's a spiritual platform they're on. But the minute it's something secular, the Grammy Awards. Yeah, we know you got dressed up, lights, cameras, all that. Ain't not a cross nowhere to be found anywhere. No reverends, no deacons running around. And you can't mention God right now in this moment. Why?
But you know what, too? I've also noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, too, because I watch a lot of interviews throughout the years of from the 90s up until now. I've just noticed this, every time someone that has a public job, whether it's in entertainment, whatever, what have you, when the interviewer asks the person, are you religious? A lot of people like to say, no, I'm spiritual. What is that about?
What is that about?
I don't understand what that is.
That is so true. It's almost like everybody got together and said, we don't want to offend the Christians.
Right.
But we also don't want to seem too preachy and too gospel-y and too unreachable. So we'll say something right in the middle, like we're enlightened, we're spiritual. I mean, who cares if you have a rock that, means different things and you go, in the morning. I want to know if you pray. I want to know if you have a prayer walk. And if you're proud of being a Christian, then say that. If you're proud of being a Muslim, say that. If you're an atheist, say that too. But what's all this ambiguity going on where people are like,
Right.
I'm spiritual, I'm enlightened, I have my moment, I have my quiet time alone with a higher power, but no one wants to say God, no one wants to say Jesus, but they'll say higher power. Like, dude, come on.
Right. And like too, like let me be clear. I'm not judging. I'm trying to understand like what
I'm
like
trying to
where
understand too. When did that
yeah,
happen?
yeah, like where did we go from yes, you know, I'm a Christian to now it's like you just said, I'm spiritual. I'm just like, wait, because I'm sitting there as the viewer, like, what does that mean? And sometimes the interviewer like will press onto it, and some people will say, oh yeah, you know, I do pray to God. So I'm thinking, like, okay, so then you're a Christian. If you're talking about God, you're a Christian, but they don't. But the person that's being interviewed does not want to say they're a Christian. They want to say I'm spiritual, because some people have said, oh well, you know, I don't want to say I'm a Christian because I don't go to church every Sunday. And I'm just like, but you still believe God though. So to me, I would just think you're a Christian, like regardless if you go to church every Sunday or not. That's just how I view it. But
I
I don't
think
know.
that's what part of the problem with Hollywood and, being fame and all of
Mhm.
that is about. A lot of people in the church were always like pretty much anti that big machine because it's so much the appearance, the illusion. We have to make sure that we have the listeners, the votes, the this, the that, and everything is moving based on the fact of what people are expecting. Instead of knowing, like Pastor Quick says, knowing who you are, being
Mhm.
sure of who you are,
Mhm.
and moving forward with that. If you know you've dedicated your life to Christ,
Mhm.
then there should be no question what you say about Christ, what you say about your faith, how you move, how you walk, how you present yourself. You wear it like a beautiful garment every day. That's who you
Mhm.
are. But if you have to take it off in order to sing the songs you want to sing and have your records played, or if you have to take it off in order to be in that role, that beautiful garment of being a Christian, to take it off and put it in a corner just to be in that role and get that award, then you're basically telling God that what matters for man and world is more important to you than what the matters of the kingdom.
Right.
So you just got to make up your mind, like Pastor Quick said. You got to make up your mind. Where are you standing? Who are you? You got to know who you are.
Right.
It was a really good sermon. If you want to, Pastor Quick sermon, I've Got Issues was live streamed on November 20th, 2022 on the FBC Somerset YouTube channel. And we really liked it. And we hope when you get a moment, you will check it out. Okay. Let's move on to our next sermon. First Institutional Baptist Church posted an August 10th, 2022 sermon that was given at the Ministers Conference hosted by the Progressive National Baptist Convention. And I really hope you enjoy this. I'm not really sure why I picked this one. I kind of came across it and God just said, you're using this one. So maybe there's a pastor that is listening to this that needs to hear this. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's some way that we can weave it into our own lives and embrace it. But let me just give it to you and hopefully you'll check it out. It's called Passing the Lord's Baton Generationally. The speaker is Reverend Dr. Warren Stewart. The scriptures he refers to in his sermon are Psalms chapter 145, verses 4 through 5, Deuteronomy 3, 27 and 28, 1 Corinthians 15, 3 through 5, and verse 11, and Titus 1 through 5 of the In Revised Standard Version. In his intro, Reverend Stewart talked about relay races. How exciting it is to watch a relay race and the teamwork where they're actually passing the baton. There's 4 runners. They have to depend on each other to win the race, right? Reverend Dr. Stewart made it clear to pastors and clergy that were gathered that their strategic assignment, passing the Lord's baton generationally, God has entered all the clergy into a relay. And there's 4 lanes to run in the relay. Lane 1. Each generation has been given the Lord's baton to pass. It is not for us to hold on to for our whole life. From one generation to the next is the movement of the Lord's will. The Lord's baton represents his presence, his practice, and his power. Now, the second lane, this generation, the leg of the relay that the Lord has assigned, they must be prepared to pass the baton. They've officially got it. Now to be prepared to pass it. You need to make sure you run your assigned leg and no one else's. Like they can't just take that baton and run it for the full distance of the relay. They can only do their assigned leg. So your predecessor will soon move into a coaching and advising position. They cannot run it for you. So the person that gave it to you before, when you got it, person from lane 1, they can run beside you for a little bit and coach you through your run. But eventually they're going to stop moving with you and you got to run by yourself, right?
Right.
Be okay with that. But also know as you're running and you have that baton in your hand, you have to be thinking, I still got to be prepared to pass it. I have to be prepared to pass it. Each generation for lane 3, each generation must be successful in the baton handoff to the next generation. You need to receive it, run with it, and then pass it, right? The ability to hand the Lord's baton requires 5 things, the 5 R's, Reverend Dr. Stewart said. Reading of God's word, being real in our outreach, relating to others, be relevant to everyday living, and be righteous in your walk. Each generation must pass the Lord's baton in the critical exchange zone during the relay. And in the 4th lane, the succeeding generations must continue the relay strong. I mean, this is the hardest leg, the last leg, right? Don't worry about finishing the race, though. Just remember, Jesus is the anchor. You need to run strong in the Lord's relay and know your assignment. I love the visual of the relay. Mm-hmm. And I love how he used it with the reverends there. There are a lot of reverends that have been manning churches for years, right? And there's a lot of people that are in different church positions. I guess it can go beyond the clergy. A lot of people in church positions for years.
Right.
And being able to hand it off is a bit of a hard thing. Now, right now in our politics, now Nancy Pelosi she's retiring. She is gonna sit down, retiring for Speaker of the House and giving that over. She's gonna pass the baton to someone else needs to get that. Right. And she'll just be a regular person in the House. She will not be worrying about being the head speaker anymore. She's done it for a lot of years. It's time for a newer voice. And they're saying that Rakeem Jeffries, he's the one that's supposed to be gearing up to put his hat in the ring to do that. And I think that's a wonderful thing, for whoever wants to rise up and put their hat in to take that mantle. But for her to have enough wisdom to say, it's time. It's time. Now, did that assault on her husband add to that, making it time? I don't know. And that was so unfortunate. But she did take a pause and say, it's time to hand this over. Hopefully she stays in the United States with us. She doesn't move off to Canada somewhere, because after that happened to my baby, I think I would be trying to go to Canada. But she's a tough lady. And for her to see the wisdom in passing the baton, that's a beautiful thing.
Right. No, I definitely agree. And I think by using the visual of a relay race, because of course, like when you're watching it and you see the first runner take off and they can be super fast and you're like, oh, they can keep going. But it's like, they really can't though, because there's a reason why the actual track has certain lanes filled out, because they're only supposed to go around once. And that second time that they go around, they have to give it off to that other person. But like you said, when they're giving it off, it's like they're running with their predecessor, but they're only running until they believe that other person has a hold of that baton. Now we've seen a couple of times where runner 1 thinks runner 2 has it, and then they stop, and then all of a sudden the baton drops, and we're all like, no, yeah, we've all been there, right? But I say that all to say, we all can't do everything forever. Like at some point we have to be wise enough to know, what, I did all that I can. Someone else needs to take this and take it to the next level. You're absolutely right. And I think the same principle of handing off the baton can go for a lot of jobs. We've seen a lot of people that have retired or left, and it might have been hard to officially put in those retirement papers, because some jobs you can do way past your retirement age, but you're hindering the next generation that has ideas and thoughts and plans coming in and doing something. And you're also hindering someone from coming in new that might have an idea and have, insight in places where you were deficient that can change it to be something different, better. Like Pastor said,
you're either growing or you're dying. So sometimes you have to, not saying that someone that had it before was not growing the church. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying sometimes when that person does the handoff, they're actually freeing up a lot of people to look at their part in the ministry and saying, wow, have I been here for a minute? And am I so comfortable in this position that I don't see myself handing it off and just being an advisor and moving on to doing something else? That's the hardest part for taking over a church too, because sometimes you see places where you want to refresh or do something different. And if someone's been sitting in a position for a while, they can take it as an attack just because you're trying to restructure in a certain way. So I like the whole passing the Lord's baton generationally sermon that was given, and it was put on my heart to present it for this Sunday. So I hope it helps whatever person in leadership that's listening, or if you can even take it and apply it to something that you're going through in your walk at work or in your community service, then please do. You can view Reverend Dr. Warren Stewart's August 10th, 2022 sermon, Passing the Lord's Baton Generationally, on the First Institutional Baptist Church's YouTube channel. When you get a moment, please check it out. Let's go on to the screening room. I love the screening room.
It's time for that weekly movie review in the screening room.
And this is the week that we're coming up on Thanksgiving. It's going to be a lot of food, fun, family, and football. So I picked a movie that dealt with football, right? All right. I picked a movie that I hope everybody likes, and I watched it on the Pure Flick catalog. Pure Flick is not a sponsor with the Quickness. We wish they were, but they're not at this time. Maybe one day it would happen, but for now, with the Quickness, is just reviewing movies in their catalog. Okay, that being said, the movie is called Woodlawn. It's based on a real story. It came out in 2015. It was written by John Irwin, Todd Girelis, and Quentin Peoples. It was directed by Andrew Irwin and John Irwin. It stars Caleb Castile, Sean Astin, John Voight, Sherry Shepard, C. Thomas Howell, Joy Bunson, Lance E. Nichols, Pastor Devon Franklin, Kevin Sizemore, Marcus Anderson, and others. Here's a brief synopsis of the movie. Before I begin with, the Quickness recommends 12-year-olds and up view this film. Woodlawn opened in theaters on October the 16th, 2015. When Woodlawn's high school in Birmingham, Alabama, is controversially desegregated in 1973, Tony Nathan, a gifted Black high school football player, joins the school's predominantly white football team, along with several other Black players. The coach, Candace Jarris, tells the team to use their shared anger to unite them, but Blacks and white players clash on and off the field. After a riot at the school, Jarris consents to allowing a traveling sports chaplain, Hank Irwin, to speak to the team as a motivational speaker. Hank's speech moves nearly the entire team to accept Hank's invitation to commit their lives to Jesus Christ and join together in prayer. Jarris does not accept the invitation and is unsure what to make about the event. A spiritual revival starts within the team, and despite the turbulent times around them, it spreads through this whole school, and then it spreads through the whole community. Woodlawn is based on the true story of Candace Jarris and Tony Nathan. The Miami superstar running back Tony Nathan attended Woodlawn High School in Birmingham, Alabama in the early 1970s. Nathan became a model student and the first Black football superstar in Alabama's history. He and other Black students played on mainly white teams under Coach Candace Jarris at a time when racial tensions were high. But he was credited with helping unify the team, which went on to play the school's biggest game in Alabama history. After high school, Nathan played for Coach Paul Bear Bryant at the University of Alabama, and he later played under Don Shula of the Miami Dolphins and was a starter in 2 Super Bowls. This 2015 film, Woodlawn, stars Caleb Castile as Nathan, Nick Bishop as Coach Jurelis, and John Voight as Bear Bryant, and it's based on his high school years. The movie has a tagline, which I love, Resa, which is one hope, one truth, one way. And that comes from John 14:6. And they used to hold their one finger in the sky as a symbol of that. I love that. The themes of the movie: faith, forgiveness, reconciliation, transformation, patience, football, racism, judgment, anger, prayer, baptism, church, and hope. The box office: Woodlawn grossed $14.4 million in the United States and Canada. On the film's opening day, it grossed $1.5 million above the studio expectations, and on its opening weekend, it grossed $4 million, finishing 9th at the box office. You can see the trailer for this movie at withthequickness.com. And I hope you'll check it out. It's a good film to watch during Thanksgiving weekend if you want something that deals with football and faith. It's a good family movie. I really enjoyed it. It even had a little bit of a love story in there too for, the girls in the family that would like that. It had a little subplot in there, which I really liked. I wasn't sure if I was going to pick it because it dealt with racial tensions at first, and I think the way they did it was very poignantly done. Alabama was a very during the times of segregation and to desegregate, it was very, very wow, they had fires going off on school buses, they had crosses on lawns. It was a very tumultuous time, and they actually featured it. Well, they opened up with Martin Luther King and showing us footage from Angela Davis, who was born in Alabama. So it was a really good film, and I hope people check it out. And I can see why it made the money it made. It started a movement, because some people still don't believe we should have prayer in the schools, but there are a lot of people that are Christian that go to school, and it's okay for them to show your religion, to wear your crosses, to pray over your food, like Pastor says. It's okay to be 100% who you are at all times. Hope you check it out, Resa. You think you might?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, good. So let's go on now to Before the Bema Seat.
Come before the Bema Seat. Come before the Bema Seat. Where life's journeys meet. Every week, testimony of the one who brings hope and victory. With joy and reverence, we will sing our praises to the King of Kings. The Bema Seat. Come before the Bema Seat. The Bema Seat. Come before the Bema Seat.
Now, this, I know we normally have an interview or a story in this area, and I want to bring something to light instead. The story of Shanquella Robinson. Hopefully it'll help you understand the importance of the power of prayer and discernment. And we hope it'll help you understand the outcry for justice that's needed about her life. As you might have heard in the news here in the United States, Shanquella Robinson, 25, died during a trip to Mexico last month while she was with people that called themselves her friends, some or possibly all of whom played a role in her death. Video footage has surfaced recently, reported from the trip, showing a violent and brutal one-sided fight with a person identified as Robinson being on the receiving end of the beating. The video clip is short, but the impact is lasting. Shanquella Robinson was attacked and nobody helped her. But conflicting reports from people identified on the trip with Robinson, they said she died from alcohol poisoning, and Mexican officials who performed the autopsy that determined later that her neck and spine were broken. Coupled with delayed investigations from law enforcement, all of this has prompted more questions than any answers. And now, the Federal Bureau of Investigations has gotten involved in the case. All the people that accompanied Robinson on the trip have denied any wrongdoing, while the Court of Social Media has already ruled them guilty for playing a role in her death. Robinson attended Winston-Salem State University, a historical Black college where at least one of the travelers that was with her alleged to have attended too. Robinson's funeral took place yesterday, Saturday, November the 19th, 2022, in Charlotte, North Carolina. Her white horse-drawn carriage, it brought her casket to the funeral. Then her casket was lifted up on the shoulders of pallbearers that seemed to be her family members, and they stepped on scattered rose petals. Numerous people turned out to pay their respects. Everything about her send-off, it was the same way you would see, it was worthy of a beaming bride, actually. It was just so moving, the horse-drawn carriage and the rose petals and the silence and how everybody was there just hoping to see her. It was the same thing you would see if you were hoping to see a bride walk through. For us, it's a cautionary tale. So-called friends can turn out to be snakes and backstabbers who scheme, lie, gossip, steal, and might even kill you if you're not careful. Now, for some reason in our day and in our society, people came up with this cute name called frenemies. I'm not really sure where it came from. It might be my generation, but there's no such thing as a friend enemy, okay? Instead, you need to see that you let a person into your inner circle that had a hardened heart, and all they were doing there was recording the many things they hate about you. When such a person gets a moment, they'll talk poorly about you, they'll slander your name, and they might even cause you some harm. Those people really do exist. They're out here hurting people. And apparently, in the case of Shanquella, they're literally out here breaking people's necks. So while others are standing by, watching stuff like this happen, we at the with the Quickness want to remind you that just because someone says they're a Christian or says they go to church or they say different things, it's all about the walk they're doing. It's all about the actions. It's okay to pray about the connections you make with friends. It's okay to use the power of discernment. Something about her, there's rumors saying that she paid for a lot of the trip, for a lot of these people. I have no idea, but something had to be off for her. Something had to be not feel quite right. One thing that's beautiful about being covered by Pastor Quick for us is that when in doubt about something, we have a place we can go to. Christians aren't perfect, but we have each other. So when you get connected to a church, you get connected to people that they don't have a hidden agenda. People in leadership, they really are there in leadership because they want to serve. They're not sitting around somewhere, rubbing their hands together, smiling evilly and trying to figure out a way to do damage and harm to you. They actually just want the best for you. I'm not sure if she had a church home. I'm not sure if she had someone that she could go to if she had concerns about other than her family. I hope she did. And if they were able to fool those people too, these so-called people were able to fool people that were close to her and her church family, then I really hope God's justice will fall upon all of them. Others that will stand by and watch destruction or pain happen to you. Deborah Edwards of Ebony magazine stated so eloquently, we have become so desensitized as a people that we film the most horrific incidents without flinching for clout or to go viral for clickbait. This practice and blatant disregard for human life must be halted. We believe the same thing too. But we know justice is coming for Miss Robinson. We're praying for you, Shaniqua, and we want you to rest in power, that your family will see the perpetrators incarcerated very soon. So I hope that all of those that are had known about this, they will continue to try to see justice for Miss Robinson. Those that didn't, I hope your voices would join with all of ours, seeking for justice for her and her family, and that those that did wrong, calling themselves friends. I can't even use that when I say there were people that were with her. I can't even use that term with the people that were with her and this happened. I really hope that, justice will be served because she deserves that. Any thoughts, Resa?
I just think the entire thing is really sad, and the people that were with her, honestly, they may say that they were her friends, but you don't do that to your friend. You don't put them in dangerous situations, nor do you kill them. So I just pray that, justice is served. And I also pray for I also pray for her parents, because again, like, no parent should have to bury their child. So
Yeah. I think it's very important to be more using the power of discernment and prayer when it comes to making connections, more than ever in the society we're living in. And I don't want people to feel like they don't want to be around anybody because of what's going on. It's just that you have to be more prayerful, like Pastor Quick says, you have a strong prayer life. Everybody that's smiling in your face is not meant to be your friend. Everyone that wants to be connected to you, sometimes you have to pray about, why is this person trying so hard to be connected to me? There's one pastor online saying that, there's no such thing as friends. You have family and you have fans and you have people that just want to be connected, want to be around you. He goes, like, you got to know the difference between a family member, keep your families close, and then fans. and it's hard to say that because, you want to have, when you give someone the label of being your friend, you want to feel like they'll always do right by you.
Right.
But sometimes friendships, you got to know over a couple years before you can really let them into your inner circle the way you want to. And that's only because the vetting process now is more complicated. A lot of us have, access to more things than we didn't have before. Before you could be on a playground together and see each other every day and go to school together. Now you can meet somebody on the internet and they could be in your life like tomorrow and didn't know you before. Right. So because it's so easy to have somebody in your inner circle or in your group of friends and family, the power of discernment has to be a little heavier. I mean, that holy oil that Pastor Quick and them gave us, I have to use it. You got to keep that prayer life going, and you got to use your friends and family and make them aware of the people around you. To speak about myself, I remember I was dating somebody once. I had a relationship for them for about 2 years. And it was the first time they were meeting my family. They met my sister. My sister came up for Thanksgiving, right? And my sister told me later, she's like, he's not the one. I said, what do you mean? Isn't he great? She's like, I don't like the way he looks at you. And to me, I was like, come on. And she's like, no, I'm being perfectly honest with you, Ange. I didn't like the way I saw him looking at you. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if she saw him looking like kind of like I was saying something and he was kind of like turned off by what I said or whatever, kind of look what happened, came across his face. But she knew instinctively as a big sister, he's not really checking my sister. He's not really feeling her the way he needs to be feeling her if he was in love. She knew it.
Right.
I couldn't see it because I was in love. Love, but she saw it. Right. And I think the same thing happens with friends. Sometimes when people come in my house that you bring in my house, I'm kind of like, what's this about? We're supposed to have that little bit more like, what's this person? And ask the hard questions you might not ask because you're in love. And it might infuriate your family members. Right. There's been many a girl and many a guy that doesn't want to bring their friends around their parents because like, I don't want them to get grilled. Well, y'all got to get over yourselves because now out here, people that are calling themselves friends are hurting each other. They're hurting people. So you have to get over that and say, you know what, to be on the safe side, I'm gonna bring this person around, bring my dad around, bring my mom around. And, get that other voice in your head that says if everything seems cool or not. And don't get me wrong, some crafty ones can fool all of us.
Right.
You can have some people that can fool all of us, but it's hard to fool God. God, you pray about something enough, and God can give you some signs. Yeah. God to show you some things.
Yeah.
So we really wish the best for the Robinson family, and we hope justice is coming quick and swift. If you would like to share a story of your Christian experience, one that will inspire new and rededicated Christians, please visit withthequickness.com. You can select the Bema Seat tab. There you can fill out the interview form so we can schedule your virtual interview. You can also email us at bemaseat@withquickness.com to begin the guest process. I know that was a heavy way to bring down the broadcast, Resa, and I do apologize for that, but I kind of feel like with everything going on and going into the Thanksgiving holiday, I couldn't let it go by that we just buried a beautiful Black queen, 25 years old, and justice has not been served for her yet. And if anyone knows anything, please contact the authorities. The FBI would be more than willing to take any kind of anonymous tip that you might know something, seen something, heard something to get her justice. Okay, don't go to the family they're grieving. Go right to the FBI with it, okay? And let the family continue their grieving process and let justice be served. So, Resa? We completed another podcast, another episode is in the books.
Yes, we have.
So are you getting ready for Thanksgiving now? You're gonna be making your ziti this week?
Yes, I have bought the ingredients for my ziti, so I'm just, counting down the days until Thanksgiving, and I have a nice, time off with my family. So,
well, I know Pastor Quick was talking about how expensive turkeys are. Everything is so expensive. It really, really is. I mean, I want all the fixings, and then part of me is saying, "Don't be a glutton," and then the other part is saying, "This stuff expensive." So between those two things is like, are we going to have a Weight Watchers kind of version of Thanksgiving? Or we're going to have the typical? I have no idea what we're doing yet. I mean, I have some of the fixings and stuff there. Part of me, always by Tuesday, I'm going, bite the bullet. Let's go ahead and have a great Thanksgiving. But the other part of me is going like, I don't know. Like, do you need every little thing that we like to have at Thanksgiving? Can some things be scaled back? I don't know. It's more expensive this year. I don't know. Yeah. So I know we're gonna have, the turkey. I know we'll have the stuffing. I know we'll have the collard greens. You still want my mac and cheese? I don't know.
Well, listen.
So we're having ziti. That's pasta, anyways. I'm like thinking.
If I can't have macaroni and cheese on Thanksgiving, we can always have it on Christmas. So.
Yeah, it is kind of a staple. You're right. It is kind of a staple.
Yeah,
that's true. I was gonna play it by ear because I love my mac and cheese too.
I know, I'm like mac and cheese.
And I love ziti too.
Those are like my two things. But I do understand.
Just thinking about Thanksgiving, yeah.
I know it's making me hungry, but like I do understand that, like, on a serious note, because inflation. And speaking sidebar, I had to bring this up, right? I just want to say, if there's anyone watching from the Supreme Court, or maybe you might know someone from the Supreme Court, can you please overturn the student loan decision that was given recently? Because I just got an email stating that, I got one Saturday night saying, we've looked over, your application. You would qualify for it, but unfortunately, because of this, lawsuit that's going on, we can't do anything. So I'm just asking, if you are on the Supreme Court or you know someone that is on the Supreme Court, please overturn it, because let's be honest, right? If we're going to deny this for people like myself that are working and law-abiding citizens, then the people that have received the PPP loans, they should also have to pay that back, because that's a little that's a little hypocritical. You can't say, oh, it's okay for me to be blessed by getting this loan, but this other person can't be blessed by having their student loans forgiven. And mind you, it's not even all. It's like a small portion. So what's the problem?
I get you. I mean, it's unfortunate that everything is so polarized when it comes to our politics. And that's so unfortunate to read that email. I feel those emails went out on Saturday. They couldn't even wait and just see what happens.
A lot of people got them like Saturday morning. I got mine Saturday night, and I was just like...
Yeah,
I was a little sad.
Sorry about that. Yeah. I bet that hit kind of hard. Yeah. Because we're not rich. I mean, we're doing a podcast. We don't even talk about our Patreon. We have a Patreon. We have a Cash App, and I don't think we've only had one donation to our show since we've took off, and we're on season 2 already. So it's not like we can sit up there and just write a check. We would love to. This might be the perfect time to ask for people to please contribute to our Patreon and our Cash App. Just go to our website and do that. If you like this content and want to keep going. We've never really plugged that too much because we always feel like God will provide. But I think we need to start saying that now more, because I don't think the food and gas prices are coming down, Resa. I think we're going to have to ask for some help to pay these bills around here for this podcast.
Yeah, and winter is coming, so it's just I'm still a little bummed out about the student loans not being forgiven, because there's a lot of people, and I don't know if people have not been watching the news or going on social media and reading people's stories that have said, because think about it, right? Student loans technically have not been paid for a couple years now, and a lot of people have given their personal testimonies as to how much of a weight that has taken off of them for the time being. Yeah. So the fact that, we haven't paid it for this long and nothing has, gone abrupt to this point, I don't understand what the problem is.
Yeah, nothing's gone awry. You're right. Yeah. I mean, nothing's, but I do understand too, there's been organization has been waiting for that money to come back in. That was a lot of funds they used to get coming in for a lot of years, and to not have everybody to have halted stop. A lot of people can't wait for them to write those checks again and put them in the mail and start paying their loans again.
What happens if a lot of people are like, well, I didn't pay for 3 years, I'm not going to pay it now? Because I have heard of people, not going to say any names, I have heard of people that have said, I don't care what they do, they can turn it back on, they can forgive a little bit of it, I'm not paying nothing, so it is what it is. It'll just sit there.
Yeah, there are students at the university that's taking out loans talking about, well, it's going to be forgiven, so I don't worry about paying it back. That has happened. Right. It's unfortunate because, you know, we're in such a terrible, you know, situation because a lot of people have lost a lot of family members during COVID. Mm-hmm. We're still trying to get over. We're in jobs right now. All of us are overextended because people that used to be in these positions have passed. We lost a large number of people. So if you're calling places and wondering what's taking so long, why there's so many cogs in the wheel, why is it so slow moving? It's because you have one person or 2 people taking over where there used to be 5 or 7.
Right.
So we're still trying to get our bearing. We lost more than just a generation worth of people. We lost a lot of people.
Yeah, that's like the other day I had went to Starbucks. They're not sponsored, but I love you guys. And I was going through drive-through, and normally drive-through takes about approximately like 5 to 7 minutes tops, but it was taking super long. And then when I got to the window to, like, you know, get my food, I saw that there was only like, the staff was very limited, but there were a lot of people inside Starbucks. So I do agree that, like, sometimes I'll be like, oh my God. But I also have to remember too, like, a lot of places are still struggling because they're still trying to backfill positions of people that are either no longer here or they left or whatever the case may be. So we just have to give everybody grace for the time being.
Give everybody grace. And you would think the student loan situation, they would have gave people grace and said, you know what, it's not forgiving your whole loan, it's just a portion of it. And they would have been graceful and say, here you go. But that's where we're at. But we got to get out of here. We got to go ahead and you know, close out this episode. And I appreciate you more than you know every Sunday that you come and you do the recap with me of the sermons, and we talk about music and movies and just visit with each other. I really appreciate you, and I hope you have a really great week this week.
And I hope you do as well.
All right, everybody have a great week. We love you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
I've been trying to forget, but you won't let me. Something in my brain wants you. I've been hanging by myself, asking for help, but nothing seems to work on you.
With everything crazy, you're still my source of peace. You filter out the lows,
You always
give me what I
make me
need.
feel like home, yeah. You never leave my thoughts alone, yeah.
Disconnected, I feel the pressure, I need
You're
acceptance.
the reason I'm going out my mind. I just can't stop thinking about you got me feeling some type of way.
Feeling more solid about who the man in the mirror is.
You make me wanna stay in all day.
With everything crazy, you still my
You're
source
the
of peace.